So, hello and welcome. Bon dia, buenos dias. We have a lot of people from Latin America here. Welcome to my presentation about why did I write? Wait, I copied the wrong thing. Ignore the first slide. Everything is perfect. Welcome to my presentation about from judging it regular to competitive magic. I had a little bit of a weird afternoon with needing to figure out why my PC is not working. This little bad boy here decided to not work, so I had the last 2 hours fixing my PC, and apparently didn't proofread the main slide of the presentation. But what are we up to now? You're gonna have some still 48 minutes with me, and we're gonna look at the differences between competitive and regular rule enforcement level, and like why do we have those two? What's the differences, and what does it mean for you as judge, but also for players and tournament organizers? This is a fairly philosophical approach. There will be some examples in the end, like what's different, why we're doing it. But in general, like if you're also already very familiar with judging at competitive and regular, like maybe this will not bring that much new for you, but you're happy to stay. Just a fair warning. Like, and this is how the IPGs are built, one to everything. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna have some specific examples in the end, but otherwise gonna be more on the meta level of this. Just in the beginning, who is that guy presenting? I am a Klaus clone, judging since 2016. I live in Vienna, Austria, and now in my masters, and also on Monday starting a 6 month position at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. So actually 40-hour job again. And I've been around the world. I've seen many of you before, if it's on online events or real life events. And I'm obviously looking forward to see you again soon in the future. And now, just a small disclaimer at the beginning. If I, at any point, I would talk too fast, speak weird stuff, start to speak weird Austrian German, please point so out in chat. This should not happen. Also, please ask questions. Like you can just post them into the Discord. I have like a whole monitor just designated to Discord on my right, and I will try to answer your questions as soon as possible. There's also going to be some things we're going to ask you, like, hey, please, can you like answer this question in chat or something? I will try to always come back to that. Otherwise, be nice to each other. Don't do any things that you shouldn't do. I don't want to yeet anybody out of this presentation because they misbehave, are aggressive towards others, or just assholes. So please don't. And otherwise, so now start into content. For those of you that are a little bit newer to this, so for any level ones, people that are not that familiar, I'm just gonna mention some abbreviations, and those gonna be like, for example, the jar. The jar is the judging irregular. That's the document we have that governs how we're gonna deal with mistakes from players on regular events. The REL is the rule enforcement level. Basically, we have regular, we have competitive and professional. This presentation gonna basically be about regular and competitive. Professional is basically very small technical differences and more a how we approach that style of tournament with customer service, because it's just very fancy events usually. So like I mentioned, the jar is there to govern the issues as regular. The IPG are there to deal with the things that are basically at competitive and professional level. The jar is just like 2 pages, very neat, not much text, and the IPG are like above 20 pages, and they govern a lot of things that we need to uphold things on competitive. The MTR are the Magic Tournament rules, everything from how to see the player at the event, what's considered what information, all the things. And the comprehensive rules are those nice, I think now over 200 pages that govern how this game actually works. So from what does Death Touch do, what does Trample do, all these nice things, layers, and such and such. But now, we wanted to ask you a question. Did you judge a competitive event, a regular event before? Like you can write in there, yes, like I've judged a Grand Prix main event, or you can go, oh, I did a local competitive tournament, like a championship. And if no, it's also fine. Like the pandemic has been here for a good while, and it's not an issue. It just gives me a nice overlook of how many of you have done it before and how many have not done it before. So currently it's a mix of Some people have done it, some have not done it. That's completely fine, and we are doing this presentation to give a nice overview to the basics that maybe for some like repeat. Both documents are for us the tools to work with as a judge. They provide consistency. So basically, the documents are not there are there for us as judges, and no matter if this is now Sao Paulo, San Jose, in LA, in Tokyo, or in Vienna, that when a player does something that they shouldn't have done, no matter if this is in a regular event or competitive event, that we have a fix that is the same or mostly the same everywhere. So it's not like, you know, you travel to a different country and suddenly you forgot about drawing a card on pre-release and you get disqualified for it. Like, that we have consistency. And the main reason why we have two of them is that the settings we're working with regular and competitive, are just very different settings. With having in core that we're going to play Magic and want people to have fun. But the core essence of those is still very different, and they need different frameworks to be governed with. But we're going to go in that later now. For that, I'm going to ask you, and assuming that most of you have done a regular map before, what's for you the most important thing with rule enforcement level regular events? So a pre-release, a FNM, like, what's the thing you enjoyed the most, or as judge looking out the most for? For example, Matt is mentioning player fun and education. Very good point. It's the usual. That's, for example, I had a pre-release today. Not many players, but they were happy to be able to swing some cards and go into some dungeons today. And Dustin, I very much go in with that regular rule enforcement level events do not get all the attention they need because they are usually extremely awesome. Dustin writes, for me, regular rule enforcement level is about the people, not really what they game about the game or the rules. Then play want to have fun, absolutely. Are there any other points? I mean, if nobody wants to post something, that's completely fine. We're gonna go into the points that already got mentioned and gonna add some more. So the jar, usually what we're gonna do with it, small to medium sized events, prices are usually small to medium. For example, let's say you're gonna play a pre-release with 16 players, the winner maybe gets like 8 boosters. It is in a relaxed environment, or let's point it that way. It should be a very relaxed environment. We're here to have fun. But what this fun means is can be different for people. Like, somebody goes in and says, my fun is I'm going to want to win this event. Other person going to come in and be like, oh, this is the first pre-release I ever did. I will have fun either way. So we're going to have a variety of people that come in and say, I want to enjoy this due to whatever reason they may have. It's not much on the line. It's usually some boosters. It's about the fun. The focus is that the players can learn things, can enjoy the event, and that we not go in and swing and have an extremely strict regime. There are still guidelines, there are still frames that need to be hidden. Like, rules need to be adhered to. Nobody's allowed to throw around the room any bad words. Nobody's allowed to discriminate anybody. But in general, we want to have fun. We want people to enjoy it, be able to learn, let them learn. But now, to make the break to issues we have and why we have the IPG and why we have different rule enforcement levels. So maybe some of you have heard this phrase. Maybe not. I have heard it enough. But I only give out 8 duels in the prize pool. Let's make it regular and relaxed. I mentioned before that usually prizes are small because people don't enjoy it. The entry cost is not that high. Can be married many different reasons. But there's also the point of, okay, now we have, especially this phrase was said to me like 4 years ago. It aged very well because duels got way more expensive. So let's say for a local event, and your local shop decides, oh, I'm gonna give out 8 duels at the pre-release. I mean, nobody gonna do that. But suddenly there is like thousands of dollars, USDs, reais, whatever currency you use on the line, and that's gonna change things. The question is, what does it change? And what for you are the things that mainly change when we go to competitive? Like what's for you as a judge, or can also be as a player, what are the main reasons or main focus points that change when we go to competitive? Toby mentions player attitudes. Yes. Hank goes with event integrity. I see some people typing. Dustin mentions consistency. Fair play, the mood, the playing needs to be, the game needs to be fair. Toby mentions the overall tone, feel of the event. Yeah. People, you can still post. I'm just gonna like continue with things. So the main point is, with competitive, suddenly with different motivations, there's more on the line. This often comes to a change with player attitude, like Toby mentioned. If there are suddenly 8 duels, if there is an invitation to a beta draft, like in the Las Vegas Magic Fest, people will change how they act. Will they still want to have fun? Yes, usually players will still want to have fun, but now it often varies even more what that fun means for those players. For some, it's gonna be grinding their opponent in a really annoying combo and really, bringing the deck out in competitive and like stomping somebody else, getting that prize money. So things change and we're gonna have problems. And like many of you mentioned, we now need to see that we still have consistency, still abide to the rules, have fair play, but yet have a good mood. So usually people go, when we talk about competitive, usually people go with, it's not fun. But like Toby already mentioned, and I mentioned as well, we still want to have fun at these events. That the frame of how to have fun is different. Yes, we have like now people that are gonna be grinding, and people that want maybe to cheat to achieve want because they have higher, cheating for 8 boosters. Some people still gonna do that, but cheating for prize money, cheating for fame and glory, or just being there for more competitive because they want to get there and they get like at some point annoyed, aggressive. We're running in a different slate of issues that we need to deal with, but it should still be fun. For example, the Magic Fest, we as judges are there to have people enjoy the event. If this is main event, scheduled side events, whatever, we want players to have fun. Players want to have fun as well, because like that's usually the reason they go there. Tournament organizers wants players to have fun because a player that has fun usually is a happy player, and therefore some maybe think that competitive should not be a lot of fun, but it still should be fun. The main issue is just like I mentioned, there's just some things that are more on the line. There's different expectations and different setting. And well, to mention the comment of Toby, with players want to have fun, and especially with Dustin being in here, he can make a comment on this. I'm coming from a region back then called German-speaking region, so Germany, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Austria, that has a very, how should I say this, focus on rules and what is written, and they do have a tendency to forget the player and the humans behind the rules, and that sometimes feels like, in my region, with a very crowbar approach to things. For example, like, the rule needs to be correct and perfect and everything needs to be done, but if the player afterwards doesn't know what happened and things, is a thing here. And so my region even more has the feeling of competitive needs to be strict, direct, and not fun. And I will just say we had some weird situations here already. But back to topic. We need to deal with those problems that arise. Those can be a variance of things. It can just be a player that goes and says, I'm gonna cheat now in the feature match. Why not? Because like I think I can it. Who cares about the cameras? There's people gonna peek in a draft like it was like in 2000 whatever in Trey Van Cleef on like a picture peeked in the card of somebody else. We're gonna have sleeves like Watanabe sleeve on the bottom right where manipulate their deck. We're gonna have people that just gonna be assholes and table flip or whatnot. There is a multitude of things that technically can happen on regular as well. Don't forget that. Regular can cheat. Somebody on regular can mark their sleeves. Somebody on regular can throw the table and completely go crazy. The thing is, those things tend to be more a thing competitive due to the thing that people have more on the line, people think there is more on the line, and therefore we have a longer framework. Dustin's comment, I'm just gonna read that. I'm gonna bring an example to this. Let's just build up on it. There was, I think, 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we got Narset. The one that doesn't let the opponent draw extra cards. When we had MCQs back then, so Mythic Championship qualifiers, if any remembers those in the ancient times, the GRV factory Narset, correct. Imagine this working fine in all the world. You know, maybe they call a judge, maybe they fix the problem themselves, or it's like basically like, you know, caused some issues, but the world lived on. In Germany, it's an MCQ. First MCQ gave out 15 game losses for the Narset GAV issues. And for those of you that are not familiar with the IPG, gamer violations, if you get 3 of them, the third one gonna upgrade to a game loss, and every consecutive one you earn in this event will also be a game loss. And with Narset, just got posted, imagine somebody says, both players draw 2 cards, so you play a spell and say, draw 2 cards, like you just read the spell, and the opponent draws a card. Oops, they shouldn't have drawn that card because Narset says nope to this. And in Germany, we just had like 15 game losses with this because with actively players and player judges going in and playing their deck. And the Germans had the thing of you call a judge, and because you call a judge, there needs to be a penalty. Because the IPG say, if you go in and there's a judge call, you need to fix it, and they need to give out the like penalty if there needs to be one. So judges were like, oh, got called, and players were also the mindset of, oh, we called the judge, so there needs to be now like a penalty, whatever. So players were not like sensible about it, and game losses threw around a damn lot. And this resulted in somebody saying that like, hey guys, like see this and this a bit like this and this, and this led to the rumor of the German IPGs, because the written word is God, and if God says this doesn't exist, why should there be any policy behind that? And those were some interesting things. But back to the Dustin's questions, I mean, we always have the framework to cater to the needs of our players. But the framework we have, maybe with the IPG, sounds extremely strict. But there is still a leeway. There is still a philosophy behind things. And if we adhere to that, in a, how should I say this? In a smart and consistent philosophical way, there's still leeway to be gained. Like, only because somebody did X doesn't exactly mean they're always gonna get a penalty for it. If this is for sleeves, if this is for whatever, like, yes, the IPG are a strict framework, but they are not the God in the machine or the God in the paper, I want to say this. But to come back to the point from before now, and also to some topics you mentioned before, we still want to have fun. We want to have fun in regular. We want to have fun in competitive. We still need to uphold the tournament integrity no matter what it is. We still make it possible that everybody has fun and feels safe. We're still gonna deal with the people that cause issues. So this does not matter if this is competitive or regular. And the line of thought that you should get with this is, for example, let's say you're a new level 1. You've judged your two pre-releases, maybe before Corona, maybe now, depending on the country you live in, and you're like, do I want to go to competitive? Many judges have the thing of, competitive, so many rules. Oh, it's gonna be complicated. Oh, the player's not gonna like it. Or like the tournament organizer said, hey, just make it regular. This is like just 8 duels. What's the issue with it? Competitive is not there to be just strict. Competitive is there, like mentioned from you before, mentioned from me, is there to have a framework that better applies to the needs we have on those kinds of events. It is not there to what's the English word for this? It's not there to just be annoying for players. It's not there for tournament organizers to just employ more judges or get more judges. It's not there to make anybody's day worse. It's there to make the day better, feel more consistent, feel more fair. And so the point is, often tournament organizers see it as a hassle, like players. And for us as judges, we have the big and important mission to not only be like knowing the RPG, know how to work, but like also show others the benefit of it. So if we go and say with a local shop, and the local shop goes like, oh, I have like a monthly series that's like before prizes, and you can go like, hey, maybe you want to like do it competitive for like integrity reasons, give people a little bit more, the feel of like, oh, this is like, we're gonna play about something that's serious, but like still gonna have fun. And if so, players and tournament organizers realize that this is not there to just be strict and have evil judges giving penalty, but benefiting everybody, they're gonna also have a better time going on their first big event. If there's gonna be in the future, hopefully, a Magic Fest or a card market series, does it the game open? That they don't go there and be like, oh my god, the evil judges are here to punish me. Like, you as judges at your local stores have the power to already let people learn how to do and deal with competitive. It can still be intimidating doing a judge call, and the judge gonna be like, hey, this happened, and this gonna be like this infraction, and you're gonna get a penalty. And there it comes back to us judges. How do we explain the penalty? How do we explain to them why we do this? For example, if an opponent made a mistake and they played the wrong mana for paid the wrong mana for a card, and you then as opponent get a warning for failing to maintain game state. If you as judge just pop in there and go, oh, this is easy, this is this interaction, game revelation, you get failing to maintain game state, you both get a warning, everything is fixed, great, I'm gonna leave. If you did that as judge, you gonna overwhelm the players. This is a bit in the customer service now, obviously, and how to make a judge call. But this is basically the same like with competitive. Like in general, we as judges have it in our hands how it's perceived. If we go there and gonna explain them like, hey, you've done this and this, correct? Check with the other one, and then be like, oh, the fix is this. We're gonna bring it to your hand, and we're gonna have a tracking system, so you would get a warning for game rule violation. Please pay attention to not do it in the future. And for you, thank you for calling a judge. Due to like the games having an issue, you will get a warning for failing to maintain game state, because we also like opponents also need to look out that their other player is not doing any mistakes and stuff. But it will never upgrade, don't worry, it's just for tracking. Like things like this. Like, we have it in our hand to like not make people scared of competitive. We have it in our hand that the tournament organizer goes like, hey, I think like people felt great. People enjoyed this, and not go like, oh, you punished my players, you gave them a warning, you gave the other guy game loss, and he went home crying. Like, I've seen these things happen. Please don't. Please, like, to quote the judge, you can give a disqualification and the player gonna enroll in the next event, and you can give somebody a warning or a caution, and they're gonna run home crying. It comes always down as how we as judges explain to the tournament organizer what the benefits are, B, show the players how they can best enjoy the event with competitive, and not be scared, and not being scared of like, judge, I did a mistake, but that they also see us as helper. Is it technically very close to the same philosophy as judging it regular? Upholding the rules, upholding the integrity, having people let them have fun, let everybody enjoy it in the framework we have. it is very similar, but still the mindset of people gonna go up, a notch and be like, oh, this is competitive. Oh my god, I'm not allowed to make mistakes. We need to be there to mitigate the issue and the feeling that people think they are in danger because there's a judge in black or like a judge in now blue around, and that we're just we're gonna hunt them and we're gonna find their one damaged sleeve and gonna give them a game loss fight. That's not what we want. Up to this point, are there any questions? I know I like to talk a lot, and depending on the slides and comments, have weird structure. So if anybody has a comment, please be so kind, post it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm gonna have a drink. You're gonna have a drink, please, and we're gonna continue in a second. If not, one thing I want to still give you with this here, if you are a newer judge and did not judge competitive yet, and that was a good bunch of you, just scrolling up. You, as a new judge, don't need to be afraid of going in and being like, oh, I'm gonna screw up a million rulings because I never did competitive and I have no idea about the IBG. There will always be judges that are willing to help you, that are happy to go and be your mentor at a competitive event. You don't need to go alone and explain your local judge, your local TO, hey, one of those competitive event, I never did this, gonna run great, there's not gonna be any issues. Still gonna be a learning experience, but there will always be people helping you, being able to mentor you. And a side note on this, if it's not a question of when big events come back, don't shy off of applying. If you go oh, you want to apply for the main event, go for yes. Don't be afraid of doing it. You're gonna learn a lot by it. Definitely gonna get help by others, and do not need to be afraid of it. If it also means when you apply and you maybe get declined several times, that happened to everybody of us, you're still gonna come in at some point, and you will enjoy a huge learning opportunity. But like I said, it comes down to as judges to make players basically enjoy it a lot, as well as have the tournament organizer know that this is a better option for them. And also, I'm just confused because either Dustin changed the account or has a different picture now. Just gonna read the comments. Underlying what Dustin is saying, a tournament is about the people. I have, for example, a presentation about customers. We have not only one kind of customer. We have, if it's in the big event, we have, if it's different kind of players. Like the commander player has different needs and wishes than a competitive grind at a main event. The draft player has different wishes than somebody zone. The people that want to trade have different wishes and needs than, for example, the artists. There's many people, and seeing them, for example, me as an issue that I always had, I like processes. I am at A, I need to go to B and have something in the middle. And especially a lot of judges that like to, have their step by step, we're never allowed to forget that the people on the other side are humans with their own needs, their own wishes, and their own dreams. If that dream is, I want to play a GP, if this plan is I want to win a GP, there are many things that not all can be fulfilled, but, it always depends on us judges as well. If there's a judge call, if they're going to call us again, and if we can give them the all-around package of the event registration was awesome, the event start was awesome, there was an issue and the judges fixed it immediately and with no issues, explained it perfectly, it's super clear, or even if it comes down to uphold the tournament integrity, if you disqualify somebody, there is a huge difference from you're a fucking cheater, you deserve to be DQ'd, here's the paper, write it in, and fuck off now, to explain them why this happened, what they did wrong, talk to them, explain to them what happens now, and even if you DQ somebody, give them good customer service, give them consistency, and not just yeet them out of the window. I mean, there are some examples. where you can yeet out of people a bit quicker out of the venue if it's like aggressive behavior, attacking minorities or other things. Like there is things where like not put that much investment into that, but those are very big examples, exceptions from those things. We as judges are there to deliver it stuff in a good way, make it clear, and keep enough uphold the frameworks. If this is now regular or competitive, doesn't matter, but people should still enjoy it, and we're gonna do our job. And like Dustin said, we are not the robots that are just here to conquer the world with rules and knowledge. On Toby's point on applications, yes, for example, if you apply and they're gonna be like, don't know the guy, like whatever. If you apply again, they're gonna be like, hey, that guy applied last time, like he's persistent. Maybe has something in like, hey, I judged 3 pre-releases now. I'm looking forward to judge side events. Those things would never discourage you. Like I got declined for I think 6 GPs in a row. Got one, got declined for more, then I got like 2, and like at some point you will be able to show what you're capable of, but should never be like afraid of applying. We are now getting a bit the halfway point. Even if I have, I think, around 60 people, 57, there's not that many questions. You're still happy to ask any questions. We're gonna now just go a little bit into how we differently sort things with some examples. So there would be some participation, great. I'm not gonna force anybody to, forcefully interact with the guy on the screen on the other side of the world, but would be welcome to bring it in, because we're just gonna go over some simple points that are changing with the things. So for examples, let's go with game rule violations. So let's say somebody played their counterspell with a green and a blue mana. Can somebody be so kind and write down what's the fix in regular and what's the difference to competitive? It can also be that you just write one of the two. Also, don't be afraid if you do something wrong or write something wrong. I'm not gonna put you on persecution and whatnot. Don't worry. But if you just write in and be like, hey, in regular we just do like this, or in competitive we do like this. Like, what's the difference in how we handle it? Doesn't need to be a literature text of like 5,000 words. Just can be some bullet points. Thank you, Dustin. Those were the slides I wanted to make when the computer was broke. So, if nobody wants to say something, I do feel like I make a shitty job and nobody's listening to me. I hope that's not the case. To take this example, so somebody broke a rule, a very simple one. It's like how you cast a spell, and basically you broke a rule by not paying the correct mana. So we need to fix that. We assume that they just played the counterspell and the problem immediately got discovered. So basically, doesn't really matter what it is countering. It's basically immediately seen. So basically, play it and the opponent goes like, "Oop, wrong mana. Let's call a judge." Matt goes with at regular, you would just have them tap the correct mana. What happens if you don't have the correct mana? I like it. Several people are typing. Yes. Greg goes with, let's put this back in your hand. What the baseline is. Toby does a more technical part with, I back the counterspell up and untap your lands. Correct. What we're gonna do is we're gonna basically go back to the point where the game state was the last time, like correct. That in that case, super simple. It just now happened. goes back to the hand. If they then have the correct mana to play the spell, they can do so. If not, they cannot. We're now not assuming there's any BS going around. They're not trying anything. So like, this is very simple. What we're gonna do with it, we're gonna tell the players, like, hey, please in the future pay attention to this. Like, we're gonna do that. Whether you mentioned all before, we're gonna be educative and we're gonna be there to explain the players to learn for the future to not make the mistake again. So now the question: what is it on competitive? What's different? What changes in our fix? And if anybody knows, what's the infraction called, and what is the penalty that goes with the infraction? Extra points for that. Yes, it's nicely phrased. In the jar, it's an oopsie, and we're gonna say, please don't do this again, and we're gonna fix it. Correct. We're gonna give them a GAV, a game rule violation, and reverse it and give them a warning. Like mentioned before, if they would stack more of them, it could be a game. If you're not that familiar with the terms, a warning is just basically, please don't do this again. We're gonna track this, and if you get more of this, it's gonna be an issue. But still, a warning is nothing that's gonna shatter the world of anybody. Is the fix any different? Is the fix the same? Like, how are we fixing it on competitive? It is also take back to the hand, untap mana, or are we doing anything different? Hanayan, please, not physically, but you can just mention it. Matt mentions basically the same, but step by step. Yes, like, it comes down to be the same thing, but we need to be explaining it more, and there's like a bit more system. For example, if you now say more things that happen, it would be more complicated. But in this thing, we're gonna go like, I would go like, hey, this can happen. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the spell back to your hand, untap the mana, you get a warning for game violation because you broke a rule. Please do not try to do this again. And if they ask, or if it like fits for the point, you're gonna mention like, don't worry, one warning is not a problem. A second one is all just for attacking, but if you would get more, there would be then game losses, so please pay attention to your game mistakes. So what you can see here, the fix in general is the same. What comes with it changes a bit. So it changes that we use a tracking method that we usually do not apply to judging it regular. We gonna track warnings in the system, and they're going to be stored there for the event to see in a big event who did mistakes and if they maybe need to be upgraded. This helps us for potential investigations and other things as well. If we now go to an example of, let's say, what do we do in regular if we're not sure at the pre-release if they play the right cards and there is nothing in that shouldn't be in there? Like, do we have anything to actually deal with that? Any options that we go like, hey, should this deck be it is? Or like, do we have any, substance to deal with any issues? Do you think of anything if we talk like about regular event, pre-release? Like, what's there? Is there any policy that guides this? Dustin nicely summarizes up the point. So the fact there's more in line and more things can happen, we're always gonna have a deeper look at competitive. Does it mean that not at the regular somebody can also cheat? They can also cheat, but like if something looks fish at regular, it can still be not acceptable and still be an issue. In competitive though, the chances are just way higher, and like the RPG have a better roadmap. It is usually you go there, see what the players need, you're gonna evaluate the game state, you're gonna evaluate the problem, you're gonna see what infraction it is, you're gonna see what penalty it is, you're gonna see what fix it is, you're gonna deliver it properly, and we go on here. So the next question, with tech issues, regular doesn't really give us much of a choice. We can investigate, talk to the players, but we still go back to the point, we do not assume that people gonna try to cheat that around. We don't expect them to, get back the deck from the day before the pre-release and put in the new deck. Do we have some things like could counter rares and other things if everything is fine? We can, but we usually don't expect the players to cause any issues. Did I disqualify people for this? Yes, not often, but it happened. But now the good question is, how do we deal with it in competitive if we realize the player is playing the wrong playset of a card? So for example, they wrote down they wanted to play Ponder, but they're playing a playset of Brainstorm, and so Ponder is on the deck list, and it is on the not in the deck, it is Brainstorm. So how would we deal with that in competitive? Issuing a game loss is involved, but what else is there? Also, you can a bit think about the customer service point. Correct? Change the deck list to what they wanted to play. Gonna let the two people that currently are typing finishing. Finish. Well, English today is hard. Generally, like mentioned before, in regular we don't have many things, but here, at the question is how we're gonna fix it in competitive if somebody plays a playset of Brainstorm instead of Ponder. So Ponder is on the deck list, but they play Brainstorm. So in regular, we don't have that much option. But in competitive, the rules give us things, especially we have deck lists, so that makes a lot of things a lot more easy. How it got mentioned before, it is a game loss. For maybe it sounds a bit harsh, just like the right cards or just enter the wrong thing, and oh my god, they already get a game loss. Like maybe a bit harsh, but now comes into play again the frame and how we work with it. In competitive, to keep a straight playing field that is equally good for everybody, if we wouldn't have any methods to keep track of things, everybody would go like my sideboard, I think I'm gonna go like with a different sideboard because I saw that the event uses this and this decks more than other decks. So basically, here the IPG are very different from what in the gamer violations we had. Gamer violations, the issue is the same in both. The fix is fairly the same. There's some extra layers to it, but now we have like a completely set of tools that allow us to check what the player should have, check to anything they have now, and fix it. Difference also now, it's not just a warning, basically, please don't do this. It is now an actually, hey, you're gonna lose this game because you did this wrong. Still comes down to please deliver it correctly and explain them why. But here you can see an example of where we're gonna have a different. This penalty is not only there to penalize somebody when it happens, but already also discourage somebody of doing it. Because people are usually aware of if they do something wrong with the deck list, that they're gonna lose a game. So this is not only there to like punish people, it is also there to educate. One small example before going to last slides that we're not going to do in text. Let's talk about cheating or very unwanted behavior. Those things, to make a comparison between IPG and a regular rule enforcement level, are very similar. The reason for this is cheaters are not accepted because they in either way basically kill the game state and basically break the game that should not happen. If somebody is physically threatening somebody, this is not acceptable in any warning. This doesn't matter on the frame, it's never okay. If somebody shouts a sexual connotation, some insult to somebody, this is something we're gonna deal the same way. This is something that's not accepted. If somebody is causing bigger troubles, also not accepted. So the point here is that do we have the IPG to punish people? Yes, for parts we have them to punish people and to deal with the issues, but they're also there to discourage the unwanted behavior to not even happen. If somebody knows if they're gonna like slap their opponent in the face, I mean that's not a very extreme example, and they know they get thrown out, they maybe think about twice if doing it. I hope so they never got into the thought in the first place. But for example, cheating, should I just play a second land? And then they realize, I can't get the queue for this. Like there are things that are not only there to deal with it when it happens, but only be there to also discourage it. Like I had penalties in the IPG I gave out once in my life. And those things, even if it's there, and even if it's the sword that looms in the darkness, doesn't mean players need to be threatened. This is, for us, guidelines and the things we uphold to have consistency with the IPG, but they're also there for players to be protected from any issues and getting treated the same way. So the IPG is basically the sword and the shield that we as judges have and as players to make an awesome event. So don't be discouraged to ever try a competitive event. Yes, is it many pages that can be a little bit glooming and looming? Sure, but you don't need to know all of them. For example, if you know your gameplay errors and like for example deck clicks problem, you're fine for your first event. If you need help, there are gonna always be people to help you and assist you with any issues you have. So the main point of this is try it. Don't be afraid of competitive. We went over the idea of it. So for example, with game rule violations, triggers, many things are very similar to regular Magic. We're gonna fix them, and then we're just gonna basically track them and like keep aware and like have an extra eye on them. But it goes for things like, for example, deck list problems or issues in the draft. There were things that don't exist in regular because different frame, people aim for different things, and we need to mitigate different things and check that those don't happen. So have an eye on this, and there's other behavior that's just not acceptable in any other form or condition, like homophobic people, aggressive people, those people are never okay and always need to be dealt with. And with basically not much time left, you can ask any questions you may have. I know this was kind of chaotic today, and I apologize for not being able to build the slides with my dear memory slot. Please be so kind to give feedback, because even if I maybe have not done that great of a job, the feedback for me so I could do better the next time and hopefully not have my PC break down 2 hours before this. But this should not happen as often. Just checking the comment of Dustin. Indeed, competitive judging is very awesome. Both are different, but yet very much similar to things. Both are fun, and especially when you're part of a team, correct. So for this, thank you very much for your attention. The Clone Army thanks you for your participation and listening, and I hope you're gonna enjoy the second part of the day. And thank you for the organizer, and presenter team for putting up an awesome event again. And please enjoy, I think now soon, the break. And if you have any questions, I'm gonna stick around some minutes, and you can ask in chat or in direct message, whatever you like of those things.